The United Nations Humanitarian Agency is warning that 100% of Gaza faces the risk of famine. A spokesperson describes the region as the hungriest place on earth. Israel partially lifted the blockade on supplies entering Gaza in recent days, but the UN office says distribution remains severely limited. Meanwhile, Washington says Israel has agreed to a US proposed ceasefire in Gaza. Hamas officials say it does not meet their demands, but they're reviewing the plan. Journalist Balig Sladeen is in Tel Aviv and says a permanent ceasefire would be needed to get sufficient aid into Gaza.
Well, of course, because in order for the situation to improve, we need not only a temporary ceasefire, but also a permanent ceasefire, the rebuilding of the infrastructure. And of course, with this continuation of the war and the evacuation warnings that the IDF is giving to hundreds of thousands of Gazans in the north, in the south, in the east of Gaza, all of this will not, of course, be beneficial for the improvement of the humanitarian situation. In spite of that, we see that at least in the last week or so, the trucks are back into Gaza around, or at least up to 100 trucks are entering different routes inside Gaza. That's beside the new mechanism, the JHF mechanism that is operating in the southern part of the Strip, as well as the Netzarim corridor in the north, that according to Kogat, the Israeli body, has provided meals for 150,000 Gazans and has, as of today, only provided more than 330,000 meals for the people that came and collected it. Of course, that's not even enough, but at least in this situation, some sort of a prevention of the widespread famine is being dealt with.
Well, a ceasefire is now on the table, but what are the key points of contention and how likely is it that Hamas will sign?
Well, a quick update. Hamas just a few minutes ago in an official statement said that they are in discussions or consultations with the other Palestinian factions in Gaza around or surrounding this new proposal. And we have heard several Hamas officials speaking to media in the world about their dissatisfaction of this proposal, and that it does not adhere to their demands, which is the complete ceasefire, or at least some guarantees from the Americans for a permanent ceasefire after this temporary ceasefire. I would say that it's not, I would say it's very low that they would accept such a proposal, because it's still a partial proposal. That's something that probably they will say yes, but they will add new demands of their own that will include the issue of guarantees for the end of the war, something that they have never gotten from the Israelis. And I sense with this current situation, with this American, of course, support for Israel and the increased military pressure, Israel will not give guarantees for the end of the war.
OK, so just to put people into perspective, no ceasefire, basically no aid. But one thing that is intensifying is Israel's ground operation in the Strip. Will that intensify?
Well, if Hamas says no, or effectively no, of course we should expect that Israel would put more pressure on Hamas after all through this military operation that still did not reach its maximum capacity. Israel talked about opening the gates of hell, called on reservists. I would say that tens of thousands of Israeli soldiers are inside the trips. Not many of them are very active in clashes. We see that also because there are no casualties on the Israeli side, in contrast to what we have been seeing throughout this 1.5 years before the last ceasefire. So for now, the military pressure is active, but not in its utmost capacity. And we should expect that if Hamas says no, it will increase. The only solution out of this is Hamas agreeing to be out of control in Gaza and laying down their arms. But on that matter, I think that Hamas, at least until now, they're not ready to agree to such terms.
OK. Journalist Balig Sladeen in Tel Aviv, thank you very much for updating us.